Sometimes there'd be a challenge. I'd be like, thank God there's no power randomly the whole day.
Right.
Thank God there's a parade again. How many effing parades can we have in New York? We had a parade last hour, and here we are again. Hey, just so you know, Carl, all the streets are shut down. No one can get to the service because we've got parades. It's like, cool. But I was always up for the fight, but I think there is a level of wisdom that comes with the humility to get help that I didn't access.
Yeah.
And so that's how, when I look back at that one angle of it, boy, it would have been really helpful to let some people know what I was dealing with.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've all been so inspired by your counseling journey, you know, and as a church, like we scholarship all kinds of counseling. I mean, we have a large national network of people that, I mean, we believe in that, and we've been following your journey.
But that's why you're awesome though, Mike. There's not a lot, you know how I feel about your camp, and I say that lovingly. It's not a camp, but why I think you stand out is because you use your whole brain. The entire thing God gave you, you use it all.
Yeah.
It's not either or. It's not like people who believe in therapy don't discount the supernatural. No, man. If you're really tuned in supernaturally, you'll be in a therapist's office because you know what you need. Yeah. So I love the fact that you're able to just be smart with both.
Man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, I mean, right now I'm doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is incredible for your brain.
It is.
And it's really helping me a lot.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. I knew all about deliverance and spiritual warfare and still cheated on my wife, still became an alcoholic, still stepped out of ministry.
Yeah.
It's like our stories are identical, just 15 years apart.
Yeah.
I had a smaller audience for it than you did, you know? And so it was crazy because I was like, wow, there has to be more. You can't counsel a demon, but you can't cast out a mental issue.
Right.
So it's like I had that. That's where the wisdom came from. And so for me, it's like I'm really just prescribing people what worked for me. I'm the crash test dummy of my ministry, where I'm like, hey, here's what worked, you know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way because I was the guy who over spiritualized until I realized this is not working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And experience taught me. And what's crazy, I ended up finding this guy. Well, so, you know, a lot of my viewers know this, but like I mentioned to you, my dad dies prematurely. I'm fatherless. I had multiple abusive stepdads. I was raised in extreme poverty, gang-ridden neighborhoods, blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden now here I am, Pastor Mike, and I'm like, I hadn't dealt with all this stuff. So but I had dealt with it on a demonic level, or, you know, we say strongholds, but I was like, I need someone. So for me, basically what happened was it got so bad at the height of my alcoholism. I came home one day and my house is completely empty, but drunk out of my mind, I think it was clean. So in my mind, I'm thinking, man, Julie really cleaned good today. And then when I sobered up, I was like, oh, she's gone. You know, like my wife left me. And, you know, of course that made things worse. I spiraled more, but eventually I reached a crossroads where I was like, I'm going to find help. So I went to this counselor who was like fully medical and fully Christian, which is kind of an anomaly. As you know, it's hard to find those dudes.
Rare. Yeah.
And then I'm sitting in the counseling session and then I start getting angry because I'm like, I have to pay a man to care about me. This is so jacked up. Like my pastor never cared about me, you know, blah, blah. And you know, all those wounds. So I literally just talk about dropping F-bombs. I just cussed this dude out.
Yeah.
He waits till I'm done. He's like, are you done? I'm like, well, yeah, you know, and he was like, well, here's the deal. You don't have to pay me ever again. I want to see you every single week. And I believe in you and I want you to be here.
Wow.
And this dude just broke this orphan thing off me. So I went on this journey with him for a long time. And it was funny because I was struggling with alcoholism. Like when I say it was clinically diagnosed, you know how people say it and you're like, no, you just had a couple rager parties.
Yeah. No,
it was like I had
a drunk. Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm going, and so what he did is he said, I want you to start visiting all the places over Chicagoland where the abuse and the trauma happened. And I want you to ask God, where were you when it happened to me? So I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be.
Wow.
So what happened though, the very first location I show up to where some really bad stuff happened to me, I'm like, okay, God, I'm doing it. This counselor wants, I'm like, where were you when it happened? And this is the revelation I got, is in that moment, I felt like the Holy Spirit said, I'm not bound by time. I'm actually still there. I'm in that moment. Like, you're bound by time, but not me.
Wow.
So where am I? I'm in 1983. And I can touch you right now if you'll allow. And that's God's version of healing. So I'm going through these crazy experiences where I'm being triggered. It's getting worse. It's getting better. You know how, that whole roller coaster you go on?
I relate.
Yeah. And so what happened was, one week I just decided, like, I don't want to drink anymore. And so I come in and I tell the guy, he's like, I thought it would happen this week or next week. And he had like charted this thing out. He was that good. He was an older guy, had been doing it for like 4 decades, and he charted out my journey. So I think what happened is I became the test tube experiment for this stuff, where I was like, it's cruelty to tell somebody it's a demon when they need counseling. It's actually cruelty, because I was subjected to that unbalanced bad theology.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so watching you kind of go on that journey as well, where it's holistic, has been inspiring. So I don't know if you want to kind of like piggyback off of that.
I mean,
I know
holistic is a great word. I think, I mean, you just said it beautifully. I think there has to be, I think if you have a Christian, a follower of Jesus that is really aware of their mental health, aware of their neuropath and their brain chemicals and their tendencies, and they're really aware of the spiritual realm, they're hard to stop. Now, either one alone, easy to stop. You get that spiritual guy who's like, therapy, whatever, he's dead man walking.
Wow.
Get the guy over here who's all therapy, all brain, dead man walking. There's this beautiful place to get to where it's like, now I'm a child of God. I love Jesus. I know God has a plan for my life. And because of that, I can then go pursue the things that God has opened up for me to get help. That combo to me is everything. And I think there's a wave, and you represent a lot of what that can be, of people who can really talk about both. And that's to me, the recipe that's going to bring continual revival right now it's really cool to talk about mental health. It's like therapy has become like church almost. So it's like, I go to church, I go to therapy. Oh, okay, I got you. But that's going to swing back, because that's empty. And just like it's been empty, hollow church where you're going to rant and rave about stuff, but there's no power.
Yeah.
That middle ground for me is the therapy side of things really, really helped me. It really